Hello and welcome again to Immigration News and Views. My name is David Nachman and I'm one of the managing attorneys at the Nachman Fawani Zimochek Law Group. We have offices located in northern New Jersey. We also have an office located in Midtown Manhattan. We have affiliated offices in Bandra in Mumbai, India, close to the consulate, and we also have affiliated offices in Canada. So today I want to discuss an issue which we recently discussed, I believe several weeks ago, with regard to the new electronic methodology for obtaining the I-94 arrival departure record. And we've been receiving a lot of questions from our clients. In fact, one of the things that we've been doing is meeting with clients who are coming in, and of course when they come in to see us about a particular immigration issue, they give us their passports and they ask us what additional information we need. So we, of course, because we might be doing a change of status here in the United States, or that we as their lawyers want to confirm that the individual's period of stay is in fact valid here in the United States and that they don't overstay the date certain on their I-94, because of course if you do that by 180 days, you'll be barred for 3 years, or if you remain 365 days beyond the period on your I-94, then the date certain on your I-94, you'll be barred for 10 years. So it's really important to keep track of the dates that you're allowed to stay in the United States, which are designated clearly on your I-94. But now the ports of entry are not giving you I-94s. What they're doing is they're placing a stamp in your passport. And that basically leaves you to do what? Well, the CBP has released some guidance recently, and we're going to go through it together so that you're clear on what you need to do in order to make sure that you get your I-94 and you're aware of your classification when you enter the United States and you're aware of the date certain on that I-94. And again, it's very important that you do this because no one else is going to look out for you except for you. So what is the first thing you have to do? Well, you have to print out the I-94, okay? So how do you print out the I-94? We've told you before, the way that you do that is you go to the website www.cbp.gov/I-94. And what you do is you put the information from your passport into that database, and then you should be able to get your I-94, your electronic I-94, and you should be able to print it out. It is highly, highly recommended that every time you come to the United States that you get the I-94 printed out and you keep an accurate record of your I-94 arrival departure records. You cannot be guaranteed that the government's going to be doing that for you. In fact, the rules of the new electronic I-94 database are that once you leave, you won't be able to get that I-94, so it becomes essentially inactive. So the only other way that you might be able to get it is through a FOIA request to CBP, which could take a long time. So it's highly, highly encouraged that what you do is you go ahead and print out that I-94. So please, again, verify that the information is correct if you're able to print out your I-94. However, what we're finding is that some of our clients and some of the individuals who come to see us are not able to print out that electronic I-94. Why might that be? Well, believe it or not, the government sometimes makes mistakes. Data is entered into the database improperly. So what are some of the ways that you might be able to figure out how to print out the I-94 without going directly to CBP to get the I-94, which, by the way, you are allowed to do. And if you have time, of course, after an international flight, you might not feel like it, but you could go into secondary inspection and you can ask the officers to print out an I-94 for you. Okay, so if the I-94 does not print out, so if you go home and you try to print out the I-94 at your computer and it doesn't work, well, what might be some of the reasons for that? Well, first of all, make certain that you enter the name exactly as the name is entered on the passport, the visa, or submitted on your DS-160. So it could be that there might be some kind of a permutation in the name which causes the database not to be able to deliver up your electronic I-94. If you've checked the name and checked it against all of the other documents, the passport, the visa, and the DS-160, then what else can you try to do? Well, enter the first and the middle name in the first field, in the first name field, because it could be that what happened is your first name and middle name may have inadvertently been combined. So that's one of the common errors that the government does, is that they would combine inadvertently the first name and middle name. So try that permutation and see if your I-94 prints out. The other thing that you can do if your I-94 is still not printing out, switch the names, switch the order of your names. So switch the name, the middle name, the first name, the last name, and so try that in the database and see if it prints out. Also, what you may want to do, and it's a common inadvertent error by the government when the database is created, the information in the database, is that you should try entering multiple first names, multiple last names, and also possibly do that without spaces. And so that's one of the common errors. So try that and see if the I-94 electronic version prints out for you. Also, check and see if there are multiple passport numbers. So see if there are multiple passport numbers, and if there are multiple passport numbers, it's a good idea to try those multiple passport numbers in the database to see whether or not you're going to be able to print out the electronic I-94. Do not enter the year if it's included in the passport number. So for example, some countries will issue passports which have the number or the year in which the passport was issued to the individual or generated. So for example, a passport that was issued in 1998 for a particular country may say 98 dash and then the number on the passport. So make sure that when you enter the data into the database for the I-94, make sure that you do not include that date number, which is usually ahead of the passport number, because that might make it, then you will not get the I-94. So if you eliminate that number in front of the passport number, that might be one of the reasons why you're not able to generate that electronic I-94. Also, be sure to check the classification for which you've entered the United States. Of course, as we've mentioned before, be absolutely certain that the classification is correct. If, unfortunately, let's say the classification was inadvertently omitted or inadvertently entered into the database, then you also may have problems getting the I-94, electronic I-94 out of the database. So with these quick fixes and ideas, hopefully you're able to generate the electronic I-94 for yourself out of the database and you can print it out at home. But again, as I mentioned before, if all else fails, you certainly can get a copy of the I-94 electronic version by going to secondary inspection and asking the CBP officers to print it out. Now, if you're already through CBP and you're having trouble at home printing it out on the computer, you can always go back. For example, we're close to Newark Airport and JFK. You can always go back to Newark. You can always go back to JFK. You can walk up to the international arrivals. You can go to the CBP office and indicate to them that you've done whatever you could to print out the I-94. You were unable to do so, and that you want them to put you into secondary inspection or ask an officer to assist you to print out your I-94. I hope this information has been helpful to you, your friends, members of your family with regard to the electronic I-94. If you have any questions at all or need any assistance in generating the electronic I-94 for you, your friends, your family, please feel free to call us anytime. Our attorneys are here to help you. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye now.